Tanganyika, we've seen how they established their rule in Tanganyika. So we are going to see the kind of rule these Germans applied in Tanganyika, and it is the direct rule in Tanganyika. Direct rule, this is a kind of rule that involved the use of force, direct. So this was the German system of colonial administration that was used in Tanganyika. So direct rule involved the Germans directly in administration of the colony. So this is the time when the Germans directly. This is now the time when Germans are not using collaborators. This is not the time when they are using explorers. They actively involved themselves now in administration. So under this system, the traditional chiefs lost their powers and authority to the Akidas and the Jumbes. Akidas and Jumbes, these were the Indians from Asia, that these are Asians that were employed by the Germans to come and replace the African chiefs. So Akidas and Jumbes were used by the Germans to help them in administering the conquered areas and even to work on their behalf. So the Akidas and Jumbes, they took the place that once owned by the African chiefs. That's why African chiefs were bitter when they saw the Akidas and Jumbes controlling their areas. So for example, the Akidas and Jumbes, they used to enter African places of worship, those are the shrines, with dogs. This was a culture that was given to them by the Germans. They used to rape African women. We shall look at the Maji-Maji rebellion that took place in 1904 to 1907. That's when the course started in 1904, though fire started in 1905. But the course began in 1906. So the Akidas and Jumbes used to provoke Africans. There was a group of Wangidos and Wamatumbis in southern Tanganyika who were influenced by a man called Chinjikitile Ngwale. When reached there, we shall look at that revolution or rebellion of Maji-Maji. So the system of direct rule that was applied by the Germans in Tanganyika made Africans to lose their key posts. For example, leadership, the chiefs, the kings ended up losing their leadership to the German replacements. Those are the Akidas and the Jumbes. So we want to see, why did the Germans apply this rule in southern Tanganyika or in Tanganyika in the first place? Why that we had two kind of rules, direct and indirect? Why did they choose to apply direct rule in Tanganyika, yet there was indirect rule? So that means they have factors that might have pushed them to use this kind of administration into Tanganyika. So, to begin with, why did the Germans apply direct rule? One, the Germans believed that it was the only system through which they could, this is not, this is spelling here, it is a code, through which they could effectively administer Tanganyika. For them, they thought that it is the system which they can use and fit in Tanganyika. Altogether, they don't think of any other system. To them, Barabanga, to use the force is the best way to go. Why? In southern Tanganyika, there was a lot of opposition. So to them, they said, now, this is the system that will fit in the Tanganyika. So this made them apply it. Two, they also believed that it was the only way they could effectively exploit resources within Tanganyika. This is the time when German had goals of exploiting southern Tanganyika. This is when they had the goals of exploiting East Africa. So they thought that for us to effectively exploit Africa, for us to effectively exploit Tanganyika, we should use direct rule. Are we together? So third, the Germans had used the force to take over many parts of Tanganyika. And therefore, soldiers had to be used so that the Africans would involve themselves in accepting the German culture. And I've given you a good example that whenever we are going for elections, you normally see force everywhere in almost the parts of Uganda. That is to create fear in Ugandans, not to take any step of violence. So this is the time when even the Germans realized that we have used the soldiers everywhere. So we can also apply the same thing today. The Germans were also proud people. They were proud people. Therefore, they used this system to stand high and above the Africans. They always wanted to show Africans that Africans are low. For them, they are up. They are upper, they are greater, they are stronger than them. They always want to show Africans that Africans are down. Are we together? So this is the time when Germans saw that Africans cannot even be on the same levels with them. So the only way to show them it is to use force, dialect rule. That's why they never wanted to associate with any African. They repressed African leaders with the Asians. They said that instead of accepting Tanganyikan people to be with us in terms of leadership, we better employ other people to come and help us in the administration. So they were proud people. The Germans had suffered early revolts in Africa, and this Africa, actually, that's why they brought the Akdas and Jumbes to tame the Africans altogether. So the Germans had already faced opposition from different African groups. So they had, instead of them wasting their force, they had to employ or to recruit the Akdas and Jumbes to come and help them, to come and deal with Africans instead of them coming. So in many societies, there were no chiefs, and where they existed, they were not faithful or powerful enough to therefore stop German leadership altogether. So Germans saw that even Africans that had chiefs were weak. They could not stop them from doing whatever they want. So they had to apply the electoral, because African leaders were too weak to stop the German authority. So they opt for this system because they had enough manpower. Are we together? They had enough manpower to man all departments, and there's so no need of to recruit Africans in colonial administration. So they saw that they can handle the matters. They don't need Africans to come and help them. So this made them to apply this kind of leadership or this kind of rule in Tanganyika. Another one, the Germans also feared the experience of training